Spurs continue their preseason slate against the Utah Jazz. Let's talk about that and more.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, the Spurs preseason slate continues on. Maybe they'll get a win tonight versus Utah. In Utah, a reunion of sorts, as the Spurs will meet up with a former coach, Will Hardy, out in Utah. We're going to be looking at that game. Get into some roster news. A player has been waived, and a pair of players have had their contract options picked up by the Spurs, and much more. By the way, this is a fan episode right here on Locked On Spurs, and we always thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. Who is joining me today? Who is repping the fan base today to go over today's game? He's back, everybody. He is Paul Saldana. Paul, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me. Always an honor when you throw up the bat signal, and I'm glad I can join today's Locked On Spurs.
I'm glad you said bat signal because I was at the New York Comic Con 2022, made the trek again all the way out into the Javits Center, and I had a blast, man. I got to meet Ty-Mac from The Last Dragon. Leroy, I met him.
That is an old school movie.
It's very old school.
Yeah.
It used to be on heavy rotation back in the day. I don't know how old you are, Paul, but us old people remember that. It was every weekend that show was on. That movie was on every time. So it was like a childhood dream come true for me. But I think everybody's not here for us to nerd out. I think people are here to talk about Spurs. Paul, are you ready to represent the fan base once again?
Always ready to represent the silver and black.
Well, let's go ahead and do it. By the way, everybody, make sure to follow Paul on Twitter. Why don't you give out your Twitter handle now, Paul?
Yeah, it's just my name, at @PSaldana52. Spurs and Cowboys is probably what you'll see a lot out there.
All right, so let's dive into it. Spurs-Jazz tonight, Paul. It is preseason game number 4. The Spurs are 0-3 in the preseason. I know these games don't count, much to do about nothing when in the grand scheme of things, but as the Spurs enter tonight's preseason matchup, what do you want to see?
Just these guys get into regular season shape. Get some of the young guys some run. Continue, maybe at least a win in the preseason. I know it's preseason, like you said, doesn't count, but it's always good to win. Winning always kind of boosts the confidence heading into the regular season, which is creeping up on us fast.
It really is. Now, before we hit record on this show, you mentioned you want to talk about Blake Wesley. So you have a little bit of a sample size now, 3 games, plus the Las Vegas games. Why did you want to talk about him ahead of tonight's game?
Blake looks like the Spurs have been trying to get one of these guys. 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", that wing guy with the long arms, play some defense, attack the rim, and it looks like the shot will come. We saw it work out for DeJounte. It took a while, and it looks like the Spurs they got Brenham and Wesley to be the next project to hopefully turn into that perimeter guard that can put pressure on the rim, make some plays, and play some defense. I think Wesley's got he fits the mold. Now it's just let's see him go out there and see if he can actually see what he turns out to, see what he can become.
Are you a little concerned that his shot has been off in the last 3 preseason games?
That is. So, on the wing nowadays, you guys got to shoot threes. You got to be able to knock down that open 3-point jumper. And, so far he's 0 for 4. It's a small sample size right now. And, coming out of Notre Dame, he carried a heavy offensive workload in college. So he led he shot up a bunch of threes in college, and he only shot 30%. So a little worrisome there. But, that's something that'll come. It's his rookie season. He's 19. He's got the size, the athleticism, all the measurements check the boxes. Now it's time to, put in work, preseason games. We've got a long 82-game season, And looks like the way the roster's built, he might actually get some run down in San Antonio, and along with Austin. So a little there's a small concern as of now with his low shooting percentage in college, and so far 0 for 4, and not too hot from the field yet, but that'll come. Just more times in the big leagues, more times in some real NBA minutes, really sharp, hone those skills, build a foundation in the rookie season, with Pop and the crew.
And what helps him is that Primo has been out of the preseason action, so there's minutes for him. Trey Jones has been playing, but not heavy minutes. So Blake Wesley is getting his opportunity. You want to see that continue tonight out in Utah. One other thing as well is a little bit of an injury report. Zach Collins is not going to be playing tonight. Concussion protocol suffered during the recent Spurs preseason game against the Pelicans. He will not be with the team. So again, that gives more minutes and opportunities for other bigs, such as your Dominic Barlows, who looked pretty impressive in 7 minutes against the Pelicans. Of course, Gorgie Dang and a lot of the other guys that are vying for a position on the team. Those fringe players, we'll talk about this in a while, but they already made a roster cut. Guard Tommy Kuze is gone. So it's getting close to crunch time for these fringe players to prove they have what it takes to make it either in San Antonio or at least be connected to them via the Austin Spurs and be assigned there. We're talking with Paul Saldana right here on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, and we're looking at tonight's Spurs-Jazz preseason game. One other thing I like to see, though, you're seeing a little bit of improvement slightly. I get it was just one game, but the turnovers versus Pelicans was under 20-17, so that's a good sign. Also, you like that Malachi Branham is still showing that he can be that instant offense kind of guy, whether he's in a starting role or off the bench. So he's taking advantage of his minutes. But what are your thoughts on Isaiah Roby, the newest guy?
He's one of those bigs that you need nowadays. Be able to attack the floor, attack the rebounds, attack the boards. You spit that out right. I think Roby is a good prospect to look at. I mean, he was up in Oklahoma City where they've been doing a lot of tanking. So he comes here where just in time for it appears what's going to be the Spurs tanking season, a possible tanking season. So still young, still a lot to uncover with Roby. So let's see how the roster shakes out, and what minutes are left for him in the among the bigs.
We're not done talking about tonight's Spurs-Jazz game. When we get back, we're going to continue that and then get into some roster moves, some contract news as well, and much, much more in this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. And I want to talk to you about Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, well, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite cookie dough chunk puff. They got a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, 100% real chocolate. Look, all the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it, plus it's healthy for you. They only got 160 calories, a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Go to Built.com right now. Get yourself a box. You, the family, it's a perfect treat. Find a good place to hide them. Keep them away from everybody. Hoard them for yourself. Do what you got to do to get yourself a box over at Built.com. And like all Built Bars, the new cookie dough chunk puff is healthy, tasty, and light, fluffy texture. In other words, it's so good. And what's great about all Built Bars is they're made with collagen protein. That just helps your body absorb it, the protein, more efficiently, and gives you tons of health benefits. So eat something that's healthy, tastes good for you, everything into one bar. Go to Built.com right now. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. If you need a post-workout snack, a pre-workout snack, something just to get rid of the cravings, if you don't dive into something unhealthy for you, you got to get yourself a Built bar. Again, Built.com, promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15. We're back with Paul Saldana in this fan episode of Locked On Spurs, and we're about to wrap up our discussion of tonight's Spurs-Jazz preseason game and get into some roster movement. So, Paul, when I look at tonight's game, I mean, I get it. Everybody, we know what the assignment is. It's getting to that number one spot at the end of the season in the lottery. But one thing for me, though, is that I want to see their trade options, their trade chips, their possible trade chips stay healthy. Your Jakobs, your McDermotts, your Josh Richardsons. I think that the last thing this team needs is like to lose one of those guys to an injury and then they lose some trade value. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's this season, I think we've all established it's winless for Wemby. So yeah, the trade chips could come in handy. Look, they help us. It gives us more bites at the apple. We need to get a player that'll come in and help get steer the franchise in the right direction. Because that's just kind of how the NBA works. So, Jakob, love the guy. He's got a strong defensive presence when he's out there. His offense, seems to have improved every year. But hey, if the price is right, you got to pull the trigger. We've learned over the summer, the front office, Wright and Pop, they're willing to pull the trigger if the offer makes sense for the franchise moving forward. And at this point, like I said, we need those franchise players. The more picks you have at higher in the draft, the better odds you get at actually bringing someone in that can get the franchise moving back in the winning direction.
Like, I don't want to harp on this too much. I think Spurs fans are perhaps maybe expected a little much too soon right now. I get the argument. He's a number 9 pick. I'm talking about Jeremy Sohan. He's a top 10 pick. But so far in the preseason, at least offensively, he's been sputtering. Have you been noticing Spurs fans kind of already putting Sohan on the hot seat about that?
Yeah, I watched a lot of the Baylor games, and yeah, he wasn't, an offensive force, but what he was is like the connector that every team needs. And he's he's rangy, he's big, he's athletic, he's not gonna light it up on offense, points wise, but he's gonna do a lot of the little things that the stat sheet won't pick up. So I really like the pick. Defensively, that Baylor team was they were vicious. So hopefully we can see some of that translate over with the silver and black. And I think Sohan's got a good rookie season, and it helps with his colorful hair help draw some attention towards the Spurs. We get our guys some sort of national, get on the national stage. I know Sohan's hair will definitely help. And, with the Worm was number 10 back in the day. So
that's right. Dennis Rodman.
So, yeah. So,
but when I look at Sohan, and my first thought is he didn't get to play in Vegas. He didn't play with Team Poland. He gets into training camp and then thrown right into the fire in their preseason game. So his jump to the pro level was a more of a spike than maybe it was for Blake Wesley and Brandon, who got a little bit of Vegas experience ahead of the preseason slate. Now, will the offense come? I think the offense will come in time, but right now, you just want to see what he has on that court. And what he's showing is a little bit of everything from rebounding to block shots. You remember that first game he had in the preseason, like a couple of block shots that were pretty impressive. Plays the passing lane well, looks for the open man, runs the court off a rebound, and he goes. You're right. Offensively, he never was that juggernaut. I think he'll learn to score in his own way, but I'm not too worried about that right now. I just want him to get a feel for the game and develop. But I think that's all that everybody's going to be asking for, not only for tonight, but the rest of the regular season, just these guys getting better each and every day. Spurs-Jazz tonight, preseason game number 4. Hopefully the Spurs can get a W on the preseason schedule. All right, shifting gears now. We're going to be talking about some roster moves. We're going to hit it at one. It was kind of obvious. Tommy Kuze, the Spurs have announced that they have waived him. All signs were there, Paul, that he was going to get waived from, how stacked they are at that position, from Primo to Trey Jones to Blake Wesley, maybe throw in Malachi. It was just a numbers thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just as one of the guard being a guard trying to make this roster, there's a lot of draft capital at that position. So, yeah, it looks like Kuze was, the writing was on the wall. Come in, be a training camp body, and who knows? That Austin's, up the road. Austin could be up the road for him.
Yeah, or just
And
any G League team or just
yeah.
any other team looking for another guard. He is there. And perhaps the biggest news, though, is the Spurs did announce yesterday that they picked up the options on Devin Vassell and Josh Primo. Now, according to Spotrac, Vassell's option is 4.4 million and Primo's option is 4.3 million. So they'll stick around for one more year at least. What are your thoughts about the Spurs picking up that option? How do they factor into this rebuild?
Vassell, I've loved his game since he came in. I think we've seen the progression, throughout his career in the silver and black so far. I've been really impressed the way, with his trajectory. And, he's got the size. That's one thing that I like about Vassell is that, he wasn't one of the smaller guards. He's one of the, he's one of the bigger wings that we can throw out there and, just keep the upward trend. He's still young. We've seen him, in the playing games. He was knocking down those shots, kind of kept us in striking distance, with when DeJounte was in foul trouble and, Jakob couldn't play off, 48 minutes. But, it's Vassell, really, that, Sean Elliott highlights that every game. That jumper of his is sweet. And that's what, that's what I like to, he's one of my favorite players to watch, Vassell. And, Primo, we still got a lot of work with him. Hopefully this could be the season for him with the increased role. Just hope that MCL injury isn't too bad. He comes in, puts in the work. It's a long season. He's a young kid. It's gonna be a lot for him to pick up. With this developmental year, and let's see what the kid has.
Yeah, Vassell is entering his third year with the Spurs, averaging 12.3 points per game, 4.3, 1.9, 4.3 rebounds, 1.9 assists in about 27 minutes. Primo as well, and he is entering his second season with San Antonio, averaging 5.8 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, 1.6 assists in about 19 minutes for San Antonio. Look, you start with Vassell, 22 years old. He's expected to be more of a focal point for the Spurs, and you could possibly see a big jump in production on the court from him. DeJounte's gone, so those are no more touches for him. Josh Richardson has said that that Vassell has been very impressive in training camp. We shall see. As for Primo, too, 19 years old. He's still a teenager, Paul. He can definitely see significant minutes on the court with DeJounte traded. And now, an opportunity for him to really showcase what he has. He could make a push for the team starting point guard spot as well. What do you think about that? Should he be the starting point guard or still come off that bench and give the starting nod to Trey Jones?
I think at this point, you got to give the nod to Jones still. Trey's been here a little longer. He's young too. He's put in the work. He looks good. Trey Young, fits the team very well. He comes out, he plays his defense, he moves the ball. He's your NBA point guard. Primo can come in and do more things with the ball, but that'll come in time. Like he's 19. Does Pop want to throw him out to the Wolves already, or we're clearly not in any rush. Right. So let's build the strong foundation with these young guys, and make sure that I think hopefully that's Pop's plan. Get these guys the strong foundation that they need to be, productive NBA players in the future. Because he's only around another year, maybe another 2 years. I don't know how long. We don't know how long Pop's going to be here. I don't want him to go, but one of these days, these guys are going to look back at the year or two that they had under a Hall of Fame coach, and hopefully they can that's their foundation, and they can have some prosperous NBA careers, and hopefully that's still in San Antonio.
Yeah, we shall see. When we get back, we're going to continue our talk about these recent roster moves and get into some Spurs news and notes as well. But I want to talk to you about Prize Picks. Look, so how does this work? So what is Prize Picks? Well, it's a daily fantasy, okay? And you pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will go to score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on an entry. That's right. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. including NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis. Yes, I'm going on and on. MMA, boxing, disc golf, Eurobasket, more. Why? Because that's how expansive Prize Pick covers all sports. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and it's that easy. You get safe, fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Now, what you want to do is this. You want to download the Prize Pick app right now, or just go to prizepicks.com. Sign up, play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can get themselves a 100% instant deposit match on up to $100 with promo code Locked On. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Simple as that. And don't forget, when you go to prizepicks.com, enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit matchup up to $100. That's prizepicks.com. We're back with Paul Saldana on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs as we look at more about the recent roster moves and get into some Spurs news and notes. By the way, Paul, I heard a rumor that you were actually up for the role of Black Adam and not Dwayne Johnson. Like you were their first pick. What happened there?
Oh man, that guy, he's The Rock. He's been the most electrifying entertainer for decades now. So I think it went to the right person. That was definitely the right pick,
Like, how can people follow you on Twitter, Paul?
All right, hey, I'm at Twitter. It's my name, at Saldana52. And if you want to just talk about Spurs, Cowboys, Longhorns, Marvel, Star Wars, need to catch up on Andor.
Yeah, all that stuff. Talk with Paul on that Twitter app right now. Quickly, more about the Vassell Primo. Picking up the options there. Not just they're still team friendly contracts. So just saying, Paul, if the Spurs want to get aggressive and flip some of these guys, they can. Vassell's projected to have a good season. Primo's expected to have a big step in his development. Look, if the DeJounte Murray trade signal anything, is that nobody is untouchable as of right now. So what do you think about that? Would you still think that Vassell and Primo are under the category of touchable or untouchable?
At their price right now, with there's still plenty of their game left to be uncovered and developed. That seems a little too aggressive to trade such a young player, because you don't want to be that team that traded away, the future All NBA player, in his second year, in his third year. You still have time to see what he develops into, you pivot from there. If it's if it's a player they want to keep and help, as one of the franchise, cornerstones, then hey, they're still young. They're going to be cheap for the next couple of seasons. Let's slow the roll down. Let's slow the roll there. Let's see what these young guys can do. Let's develop them. If they're aggressive that way, then is the franchise just going to be a farm system? For other NBA teams, are we just going to draft these young wings and just kind of ship them off in a year or two and see what draft capital? And let's see. Yeah. I would say get rid of get rid of the old guys first. Not the old guys. Let's see what Jakob or.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. You want to develop these guys. You want to get them a little better, see what they have. But I still say, at the end of the season, if you can still make a move, and Vassell and Primo are being asked about, well, let's talk again. The DeJounte Murray should have taught everybody that not even an all-star on this current Spurs roster, well, last year's Spurs roster, even he wasn't untouchable. For the right price, these players can be had. Paul, let's go ahead and dive into some Spurs news and notes while I got you on the line here. So the Spurs, kudos to them again. They are going to unveil a newly renovated community basketball court in San Antonio. Spurs Give is working with the San Antonio Parks and Rec to renovate basketball courts throughout the city. And the first one is going to be revealed soon. Public in San Antonio, y'all can go out there, check it out, look at the new one. the new court that is. It has the Fiesta colors, the Spurs logo on there. It's really nice. Go check it out at kinsfi.com/Spurs. And other Spurs news, what can you say about the Spurs, Paul? They went out to Uvalde, Texas, the community that's still picking up the pieces from the Robb Elementary mass shooting. And boy, did they put on a show, from open practice to fans getting on the court to kids being lifted up to the rim to slam dunk the ball, a party in the backyard. Manu Ginobili was there. It was great. That's got to make you feel proud as a Spurs fan, Paul.
Oh man, it just signals to the entire NBA and just sports community and just the Texas community, just first class organization. Spurs going out there, it's like you said, they're that community's still picking up the pieces. It's still it's always going to be a fresh wound for that community, and just to distract them, for a day, for an evening, just bring some, these kids look up to athletes like the Spurs, and just to be able to meet these players, firsthand, just put a smile on their face, help them, for just an evening, forget about the worst day, one of the worst days of their lives, and just first class organization, like you said, proud to be part of the silver and black, with the Spurs.
Absolutely. If you want to see photos from that event, go to kinsfi.com/Spurs. And finally, Paul, are you into NFTs?
NFT, I do have some Top Shot. I bought a few of the Top Shots back when it first came out.
Okay, perfect. And this is just for you and for all the other Spurs fans that are Spurs fans and NFT fans. So NBA Top Shot recently announced that they're going to have a new NFT line. They're called Dynamic Duos. So it's the best of the best 1-2 punches and for every team in their history. So, like Jordan and Pippen, Kobe and Shaq. Though the Spurs got in it too. So the Spurs reps for this NFT dynamic duel is Timmy and Manu. So there's going to be a Timmy and Manu NFT as part of their dynamic duos. So will you be getting yourself an NFT of them?
The trick is with those Top Shots, because they come in high demand, just pay attention to the alerts and emails you get from them. That's the only way to get these at a reasonable price, because some of these NFTs, they're almost like trading cards. They're basically digital trading cards. They are. Yeah. They go for a lot of money, and I actually made a little bit of money selling it might have been a Giannis one. But it's that's something I might need to look at my email and turn on the alerts, because like I said, it's cool. They're fun to have and collect, but you don't want to be paying that second market, because the prices will soar on you.
Yeah, I own some NBA Top Shots, and I own some of the first series, like when they first launched.
Same.
And and I recently sold one, but think about it, like I put it up in the marketplace, and I forgot that I did, and then one day I get like this random email saying somebody bought it. I'm like, what? I'm like, I had a Top Shot for sale, and I go back and I look, I go, oh yeah. So then when I did that, apparently I had been thinking that the NBA Top Shots were just spam emails for me, just kind of encouraged me to buy more. Come to find out, there were alerts that I was making sales. So I go look in my digital wallet, and I had a very good balance waiting for me there. And I said, I'm not going to touch it. That's like my little baby savings.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, NFTs are, I think they're starting coming around, starting to be a little bit more popular now. I remember when they first came out, people were making fun of them, saying like, "Oh, why do I want to own a GIF?" But they really skyrocketed. I think Panini, when they announced their first dive into NFTs, the first spur was Manu Ginobili. So there's a Manu Ginobili Panini NFT. Then, of course, the dynamic duel, Timmy and Manu. Then remember the Spurs got into it too when Pop made his milestone for the winningest coach ever in wins. They had Pop NFTs too with his plays. So the NFTs are coming, man. So just got to be ready. I think they're here.
They're here.
They're here. So again, if you want to see that, go to kens5.com/Spurs. And then finally, yes, Locked On Spurs is continuing to give prizes to fans during this offseason. It's still technically offseason, Paul, right? I mean, the regular season hasn't started yet.
Not yet.
So we're having another fan giveaway this Friday. So you want to listen to the Locked On Spurs episode this Friday. And the guy that's going to be donating the prize is going to come on Locked On Spurs to announce what he's donating. So that's going to be fun. It'll be another fan episode based. But he definitely has I'll give you a hint. He has a very popular YouTube show in San Antonio. So I'm going to leave it as that right there. And he'll be giving away some gear. So look forward to that and much, much more. And we'll be likely in the next episode talking about the Spurs-Jazz game. How did that end up for San Antonio and more? Paul, one more time, tell everybody how they can chat with you.
Hey, I'm on Twitter. My name at Saldana52.
You really need to go talk to Warner Brothers to see if you can get that rollback. You are right, Adam.
Yeah, well, just that check. Half, I'd have done it for half.
And you probably need about 6 months to work out, maybe?
Yeah, probably. That's about right. Sounds about right.
Well, again, thank you, Paul, for coming on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Locked On Spurs. Again, we're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And we thank you for making this Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Follow us on YouTube, the Kens 5 Plus app, Stitcher, iTunes. We're always there. Now, for your second listen, check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022, a 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local experts and the NBA insiders of Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey combining to one ultimate NBA preview. Search for Ultimate Pro NBA Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. So for Paul, Black Adam, Saldana, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.